and welcome to Binge. I'm Alex Jones.
And I'm Harry Judd.
So coming up today, we're going to be talking about screen time bans, skiing for the newbies, and rock climbing.
Yes, we are. And Alex has got a couple of interesting recommendations this week. There's Amandaland, the spin-off of Motherland, and I'm looking forward to this one, 24 Hours in Waitrose.
Better than it sounds. Also, we've got a brilliant guest, best-selling author Holly Bourne, and she has signed 2 copies of her new book, So Thrilled for You, which we will be giving away. It's a very simple question. We want you to tell us how many copies of her book did she have to sign in one sitting? It's an easy question. If you listen to the podcast, you'll know the answer. Email us hello@bingepodcastofficial.com.
Yes, and also during this episode, if you hear the McFly studio door buzzing, the hand dryer going off, and music being played too loudly, then apologies. Danny is in the studio today, and Alex thinks maybe he's back to try and take over the podcast again.
I think he's trying to sabotage it because he enjoyed himself so much hosting last week.
He did, he loved it.
So, half term is upon us. Can you believe it? This term has gone so quickly. Oh my goodness. What are your plans?
Well, what I've been doing recently, which I talked about last week, is climbing. This is a new thing in our life.
Oh, we love climbing in our house.
So we'll be
Clip
doing...
and climb?
No clip and climb. There's no clipping where we climb.
Where do you climb?
We do bouldering, Al.
It's quite serious, that.
It is quite serious. It's been great for the boys. I mean, Lola loves it as well, but a really good way to keep the boys active. It tires them out. They're using their brain, you know. So when there's no harnesses or clips or anything, so it doesn't go as high as a clip and climb.
Okay.
And it's like a really soft landing, but it's serious stuff. I mean, there's not many kids around, but it's any age. So I can take Lockie, who's 3, Kit, who's 7, who's really taken to it. It's all about killing time, isn't it?
It is, well...
And as I talked about last week, we're trying to be better with screen time.
Oh, well, we've just banned it.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
In the house. So they can have it in the car, because we tend to do long journeys. Mm-hmm. And otherwise, Ted and Kit fight in the car, which is just awful when you're trying to drive.
Well, we take separate cars now, because it's just so...
On holiday?
No, if we are going more than half an hour, we take both our cars, because it is...
Do you?
Yeah, because it is just so unbearable in the car.
Oh, like that's serious. No, so we allow them to have screens. So Ted's allowed to play his Nintendo in the car. Mm-hmm. And then we bought Kit this little 20 quid kind of rip-off Game Boy, which has got loads of like Tetris games on it.
Okay.
And he's allowed to have that. And then him and Annie will watch something, Peppa Pig or whatever, on the iPad.
We've never done screens in the car, and I don't know why, actually.
Why not?
I don't know. I don't actually know. We've to the point now where we're taking separate cars.
So now, see, we can drive to France, no problem, because they look forward to it, because they're thinking, wow, now we can look at a screen.
You're driving to France?
Well, we have in the past. Not this time. We go in skiing in half term.
Are you?
Harry.
That's brave.
Harry, don't, because I've never skied before in my life. Charlie skied. He used to do ski seasons and all of that. He's a good skier.
Yeah.
And he's one of these idiots who goes, well, the children should learn to ski.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because it's a life skill that we all need.
And I'm like, all right, well, I'm all right. And in South Wales, nobody went skiing, by the way. But anyway, we are going to go for 5 days to Austria. Friends of ours are going anyway, so we are just going to go and meet them. Mm. So the boys have never skied. Annie's never skied. Annie's going to whinge, is my prediction, the whole time. But I'm just thinking that I might like it. I'm going to give it a go. Cut to next week, live from A&E, when I'm strapping my leg up. But I think I'm going to give it a go because it's a really great outdoor holiday and very active. And I think I know Annie's going to whinge a bit. But if the boys like it and we can start going yearly, and by the way, we are, because the outlay for all those clothes, that's not cheap.
It's so expensive.
They'll all be on Vinted next week when we come back.
Well, you make sure you get unisex stuff because, you know, Annie will need to wear kits and Ted's stuff.
This is what
eventually.
we've done. And actually, people have been brilliant. Like the girls in work have been skiing. They've said, come on, we'll bring all our stuff.
Yeah.
So between everybody, we've sort of got enough stuff, I think, enough base layers and all of that, fleeces for the kids.
This is the risk with skiing because it's so expensive, not just the clothes, but the actual skiing itself, the ski passes, the accommodation.
But it's only 5 nights because I have to come back for work. And I think actually that's kind of a good introduction.
Yeah.
Not too long. just enough to see whether we like it. We have got a brilliant guest on today.
We do.
She is called Holly Bourne. She's an author and she's written this amazing book called So Thrilled for You. Harry, this is not going to be up your street.
Okay.
But it would be so up Izzy's street.
Well, I'm looking forward to speaking to Holly. Before we get into that, Al, I see you've been watching a couple of interesting programmes. There's Amanda Land, which I want to hear about, but I'm more intrigued by 24 Hours in Waitrose.
Harry, this was a new low. Saturday night, we were channel surfing. Do you still call it that? And we landed. We just couldn't decide on anything.
And what's it on? What channel?
So this is I think it's on Netflix.
Okay.
And we landed on this 24 Hours in Waitrose. And it is what it says on the tin. It's like literally they go from 6:30 when they prepare in the store all the way through to the evening. And it's about, the suppliers of Waitrose, how people who work there are partners. Honestly. And I thought, we looked at each other halfway through and thought, is this life now?
That sounds
Is this what's attracted
so
us
dull.
on a Saturday night to watch 24 Hours in bloody Waitrose? It's like our life anyway. But we enjoyed it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, do they focus on one store, one Waitrose store?
Yeah.
Okay.
One on the King's Road in London.
Okay, fancy. Oh, so they're leaning into the Waitrose brand.
Oh, yeah.
going
No, they
King's
do
Road.
say. I mean, they say this is for a special customer.
Because, one doesn't like to admit that they shop at Waitrose because you'll be accused of being a snob.
Do you?
Well, we do Ocado now, so
that's Waitrose.
is it?
Isn't it? I think that's Waitrose.
Do you know what? Our nearest supermarket, to be fair, is Waitrose, and it's nice, good.
Okay, so
I
we
went
used
to
to
Waitrose
do...
Saturday night to pick up my
Did you?
Tony's chocolate.
Oh, fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
they do.
so
See.
they do it, yeah.
We used to be Sainsbury's, but now we're Waitrose because that's the only one that's near.
Okay, it's okay, Al. It's okay to
my
shop at
gosh.
Waitrose. It's okay.
But then we ended up watching a whole documentary on it and enjoying it.
That's too much.
Sad. I'm going to quickly go into Amanda Land.
Yes. so-
Amanda Land is the spin-off of
Yeah.
Motherland, which is on BBC iPlayer. It stars Lucy Punch as the amazing Amanda, who's kind of snobby. She definitely shops in Waitrose.
Well, she was W4, wasn't she? She
Yeah.
was Chiswick.
So she's moved from Chiswick,
Yeah.
and she's had to downgrade to what she's calling Soha, which is South Harleston. And it is just really funny. In the first couple of episodes, I thought, is it as good as Motherland? Because you can't help sort of comparing.
Yeah.
But actually, the more you watch, she is fantastic. And Joanna Lumley plays a mum who's just brilliant.
Amazing.
The kids this time, so Motherland was sort of primary school sort of
Level,
age,
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
it? Amanda Land is the kids are kind of early secondary school. But it's situations that we've all found ourselves in. It's a good watch, easy, half an hour each. You'll get through that
Okay, nice.
very swiftly.
Okay, perfect. Just quickly back to 24 Hours in Waitrose. What, how did you land on that? Like, what did you skip past to land on 24 Hours in Waitrose?
Everything. American
Everything.
Primeval.
What?
Yellowstone, I've given up on that completely. Loads of massive dramas. And we both had a bit of a moment. We went, this is the epitome of middle age, isn't it?
All right, let's wrap that up now. Let's move on to our fantastic guest, Holly Bourne.
I'm very excited about our half-term guest because joining us now is the best-selling author of the Spinster Club series and How Do You Like Me Now? She's been an editor, a relationship advisor, an agony aunt for a youth charity. Her new book, So Thrilled for You, is out now. It's Holly Bourne. How are you, Holly?
I'm good.
Congratulations on this book.
Thank you.
So James, who produces the podcast, gave it to me to read. Oh my God, I was thrilled. I am thrilled. I've got about 5 chapters left. So don't give the end away. But I've really loved it.
Thank you.
Do you want to give a little synopsis maybe of what the book's about for those who are listening? Because G. Fletcher came on here, didn't she?
She did.
And she recommended it. Who else? I think Fern's talked about it.
Fern
Cotton.
Jacqueline
Yeah.
Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tons of people. So it's a really good one. And people are going into half term. So what's it all about, Holly?
Sort of like the very short pitch is it's a kind of whodunit set at the world's worst baby shower. And basically somebody's burnt the whole party down. And then, so it's just like a kind of arson whodunit. And then the 4 main suspects are the 4 characters. And they're these 4 best friends since university. One's child-free, one is actual baby shower it is, one's a newly postpartum mum, and one's a woman who's like really struggling to conceive. And the book sort of explores how the baby years can really impact women's friendships and kind of make us turn away from each other, judge each other, not have as many face-to-face conversations, and just write "so thrilled for you" under like an Instagram notification of a major life update, and how that can maybe make someone turn to arson.
Wow. It's a big jump, but you can see how it could happen.
Do you know that? It sounds like you've written that book literally for my wife. Izzy will love that.
This is what I'm telling you.
Yeah, she will love
Honestly.
that.
But I think the 4 characters in it, they each represent the different types sometimes of person within a friendship group. And it really makes for a very full picture. I think I can't wait to finish it and find out what
who
happens.
did it. Yeah.
Don't say anything, Holly. But yes,
face.
definitely give it to Izzy.
Okay.
I read one chapter last night and it really reminded me of Izzy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
So, Holly, go on then. This podcast is all about, well, it's called Binge. So, obviously, all about telly, books, theatre, anything, recommendations, so that we all use our free time, in good ways. Hopefully, with good recommendations, solid recommendations that come from the podcast. What have you watched recently that you've really loved?
This was a bit of a rewatch that I hadn't watched for, it must have been over 10 years. But I unexpectedly got a really nice book order from Waterstones for this book. And they were like, we want to take 5,000 signed copies. And I was like, that's amazing.
Great.
But they were like, you need to sign all 5,000 copies within like 4 days. And I was like, whoa, okay. And they send you these tipping sheets. And so it was like box upon box arrived at my house. And I was like, I had to get my kid into nursery. And I was like, oh, I need to watch something.
Whilst signing.
Yeah. But it can't be anything new. So I was just like, what have I not seen in ages? And I ended up at Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh.
Yeah, and I have not, and I just started at season 1. And by the time I signed the 5,000th tip in, she was just about to, no spoilers, well, yes, spoilers, kill Angel. And it just brought it back. How good.
So you needed something to watch that you didn't need to like fully concentrate on.
Yes.
Something you'd seen before. So how long ago was it that you'd watched this?
I don't think since it had come out.
Because I was a teenager.
It must have been 20 years.
Yeah, I think maybe more.
Oh, that's depressing.
It just feels like a different world, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'd forgotten about it.
Sarah Michelle Gellar,
yeah,
right?
And it holds up so well because it's all, obviously it had that kind of, you had the small bad in each episode, like a particular demon. And that was so amazing because that demon usually reflects some sort of teenage insecurity, that's made into a demon. Then you had like the big bad, the kind of, I don't know, the master or Angel getting a bit too excited when he has sex with Buffy and losing his soul. That kind of ongoing story. And it was just so good. And so I had a really good time with it. And I'm a bit sad I don't have to just sign my name for 4 days in a row because I've paused it. But then they've just announced this week that they're rebooting it.
No way!
So Sarah Michelle Gellar has just announced it this week. So it's coming back. It is still very bingeable. And now you have the excuse of wanting to rewatch it already for the reboot. So,
okay, can we just go back to the 5,000 copies? Because I've done a fair few thousand.
Yeah, it makes you insane.
I've done 20,000 before.
I mean...
But not in one sitting. It makes you go a bit crazy,
mad.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, mad. I had to go to my osteopath like twice next week. I just kept like dislocating.
Don't you? It's harder than people think.
It is. And it's just, I was like, I don't think it's very good for your mental health.
No.
Like to just write your own name over it. It's
really
a little bit
weird,
Jack
isn't it?
Nicholson and The Shining.
But all that practice as a kid pays off. When you practice your little signature.
I was thinking I sat here moaning about signing.
I know, I was just going to
thousands
say,
of things
can
for
we
our
just have a
fans?
reality check at
It's
how
harder than
lucky
people think.
you are to be signing 20,000 copies or anything, or 5,000 copies of books? That's amazing. So what genre then, Holly, do you normally turn to if you're looking for something, if you've got a bit of downtime?
I'm a big fan of like the tragicomedy, if that makes sense. Sort of, I'm laughing really hard, but ouch. Like, so particularly sort of female focused, like my husband, I've just introduced him to Girls. He's never seen it before. And he's like, this is amazing, and the soundtrack is sick. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's so that kind of complicated people, and you're laughing, but you're like, ow. Colin from Accounts, I think, is quite similar.
Love Colin from Accounts.
So good.
That was our first successful recommendation, one that our listeners really took to and loved.
Good.
So
Yes.
yeah.
It's so good. I haven't got to series 2 yet. Me and my husband get so excited if we found something that we agree to watch that we ration it.
It's even better. The second series.
Is it?
Honestly, you will love that. We were just talking actually before you came on about Amandaland, which is the spin-off of Motherland. Did you see Motherland?
I have, yes. It's sometimes a bit triggering.
Yeah. Well, yes, there is that. But you're a little bit further away from it now, see?
How old are your kids?
2.5.
You got 1, 2.5?
Yeah, 1, 2.5.
Don't have any more.
No.
No, do.
But lots of people are doing it, and I'm like watching them, and I'm like, that looks even harder, and I'm finding things quite hard. Our child was she's wonderful, but she just did not sleep to the point where after 8 months of just no sleep, we hired a sleep consultant that had been recommended from an influencer, and it was bankrupted us. And after 3 days, she gave us a refund and went, I don't know what's wrong with your child.
No, she didn't.
Yeah. She literally she left me this voice note just going, I've never been more professionally baffled by a child before. And I'm like, I don't know what to do now.
Oh, no.
She gave us a full refund, which hats off to her.
Well, hang on. I feel like 3 days isn't enough. I think your DM's going to get flooded by these sleep consultants that listen to this podcast and they're going to help you out.
I know. I tweeted about it going, what do you do if your sleep consultant refunds you the money? And actually asking for help. And everyone was like, lol. And the tweet went viral. And I was getting every sleep consultant in the entire world got in touch, including Gina Ford. Sent me an email just going,
Gina Ford.
Yeah, a personalised email. She went, I don't have to meet you to tell you that you're not feeding your child enough solids. I was like, she was actually right. And we did find somebody, this amazing woman called Sarah Carpenter, who basically remotely moved into our house. She set cameras up and spent 2 weeks with us and taught us this amazing setting technique. And apparently my child wasn't eating enough solids, and we eventually got there. But it has meant when I think about number 2, I'm like, oh.
So is she sleeping now at 2.5?
Till 5.
That's normal,
so we've got
though.
an hour of, she goes to bed 7:30. You have half an hour to shower before bed, because when would you shower in the morning now when you have kids, because they're up before you even have time to wash. So we have an hour of telly before we go to bed at 9 to be asleep at 10.
That's sacred time, isn't it?
It's that precious hours. You need the content that you're consuming to be good. Otherwise you feel very let down by life.
So we've established that hour of telewatching
Yes.
is absolutely crucial to your wellness.
Yes.
And you watch with your husband, your partner?
We tend to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes he does Zelda and I go downstairs and watch something by myself, depending on, because it's hard to find something that we agree on. So sometimes we go through Zelda upstairs and me watching something downstairs. But we like to have that hour together if we can.
Well, Buffy the Vampire Slayer feels like it could be a good crossover, right?
He doesn't like it.
What?
No, I know it's really
Zelda?
annoying. I've tried to get him into it, and he just couldn't get over the kind of. Well, I'm like, I can't say fancy because he plays Zelda. I'm like, which cloud land are you in today, dear? But it is usually, if we've got something that we agree on, a very sacred time for us both.
So do you write at home during the day?
Yes.
And then what time is your cut off, just for us to understand your life?
So I write between 9:30 and 4.
Okay.
And I have a daily word count that I try to hit. And sometimes I hit it by 11 o'clock in the morning and I'm like, amazing.
What's
I can
the
go for a
word
swim.
count?
Well, I was scared to say that because some people get really depressed.
Well, we don't know.
Oh,
I
okay,
don't know.
all
I don't
right.
have a trust me.
So
I
we've
don't
got,
I
we
try to
won't
write-
judge.
No
so
way.
mine,
I don't have a word count.
No.
My word count's probably 3 words, and that is Hulk will beat Thor. And I'm writing that for my son. So
I try to aim for 2,000 words, which is maybe 2.5 pages of A4, and that's my daily job. That's what I tell because lots of people who are working full time but want to write get really depressed by that. I'm like, yeah, but when you're in the office, I'm writing. It's like when I look at Mrs. Hinch's house and it's so tidy, I've been like, it's her job for her house to be that tidy.
Yeah, of course.
And sometimes I hit it by 11 and I can go for a swim or do something else. And sometimes I'm scraping the words out after my daughter's gone to bed and just I hate myself, but I very rarely let myself off the hook.
now as a fully
Yes.
successful author, we would like to move on to books.
Yes.
Now, obviously, we can recommend all your fantastic books, but we'd like to hear some of your book recommendations, some of your favourite authors' favourite books.
So I've just read a great one that came out last week called Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. She's like a kind of thriller writer at the top of her game. And I think I find it particularly pertinent because it opens on this woman dropping off her baby for her first full day at nursery, which, as you know, is like a very traumatizing, quite hard time.
Horrendous.
I remember me and my husband waving her off and then like crying and hugging each other in the car park and then going, oh wow, we can go for a coffee and talk to each other like
But
before.
you just talk about your daughter though, don't you?
Yeah, and then
mostly?
we were like, well, we cried in the coffee shop and then we had an hour of going, wow, this is amazing. And then they called us and went, we think she's got chicken pox, you have to come and get her. We had an hour and a half of childcare. And then you're like, oh, I'm paying for childcare, but they're so sick for the first 2 years because they have no immune system,
Yeah.
but most of the time they're not there. However, this is not what happens in Famous Last Words. This woman, her husband's not there that morning, which she thinks is a bit odd. She drops her kid off at nursery, goes back to her first day at work after maternity leave, and then BBC Breaking News is on, and her husband has held 3 people hostage in London.
What?
And yes.
Whoa.
I know.
Is this a new book?
It's out last week. Yeah, it's doing really well already, and that's because it's amazing.
So hang on. Okay, so they've dropped the kid off in nursery. Mm-hmm. And then the husband who works on BBC Breakfast.
No, the husband is on BBC Breakfast.
No, it's breaking news on BBC Breakfast.
He's not on the sofa with some hostages.
Right, I was like, oh, Charlie's changed on BBC Breakfast. Go on.
No, so she's gone back to her first day. Again, there's sort of where you should just be spending all day crying in the loo, feeling guilty and like you miss your kid. And then there's like, in the office, they have one of the, these rolling news channels. And then she's like, there's this hostage situation in London. And then her husband has just taken 3 people hostage.
So the husband has taken the people hostage?
Yes, he's not our hostage. He has taken 3 people hostage.
Oh my goodness.
Apologies to any of the listeners that, like me, understood it on the first explanation. Al is finally there.
This is like a really good plot, though.
It's really good plot. And the twists, you think, I know that she's so good at twists, and I've read some of her other books, and I'm like, I know there's some twists coming, and I'm like looking for them, and like the ones in this book, I'm like,
okay,
she's played me, she's played me
I've written that down.
Famous Last Words by
Gillian McAllister.
Gillian
All right,
McAllister,
because I'm
that's
going.
great.
Well, I'm not. Damn it, I'm not going on holiday in half time. I'm going on holiday in April, so
Yeah.
I like a thriller. So it's a thriller, yeah.
It is really good, and it's all about like the secret, the relationship between a husband and wife, and how you know each other better than anybody else. It's quite like sad and
I'm feeling
emotional.
like maybe the police draft her in to try and understand her husband's thinking.
There is a hostage
With the
negotiator in there,
negotiation,
and she's
okay.
got a toddler, and she said that she had to go on a hostage negotiation training to prepare for the book, and then she said it's like made her a really good parent of toddlers because apparently like people who've taken people hostage and toddlers have quite a similar brain and what they need.
Say again?
So it's like she's like, yeah, it's great for toddlers because like, if you're a hostage negotiator, you've got to like prepare the person. This is what's going to happen. There needs to be no uncertainty. And she said she started using the tricks on her toddler. Like, okay, so next we're going to get our shoes on, and then we're going to get in the car, and then we're going to go into soft play. Repeat that back to me, and the toddler goes, shoes, car, soft play, and then just does it.
Oh my God, we should all be hostage negotiators, it turns out.
I am.
Brilliant. Well, that's a very good recommendation because I'm going to have a hole after I finish your book. And I hate starting new books that I don't know are going to be brilliant. So that's the next one.
Yeah,
Thank you,
enjoy.
Holly. That's very good.
I have something here in my notes about Wicked. Which,
Oh, God.
I don't know if you're aware of this. I'm a fan of Wicked.
That's why he's wearing green today.
And you're wearing pink.
So, have you seen the film?
We have. I couldn't cope with the length of it in terms of even the earliest showing meant I wouldn't be in bed till 11:30, and I was like, no man, my kid wakes up at 5.
Okay.
So I waited for it to come out where you can pay to rent it, and me and my husband watched it over 3 nights. That's how long it is.
Hang on a minute. In 3 parts.
We watched it in 3 parts. Yeah, we did that with Conclave as well, and it really ruined the suspense.
So I did the same with Conclave, but my rental period ran out, so I didn't watch it.
After a while, I was like, I don't feel like that reveal was as good as the rest of the movie. And I was like, we did watch it over 2 nights. Like,
I'm struggling to get to grips with this because you are aware that was part 1 as well.
yeah,
There's a part 2.
yeah, but people don't seem to mind. But that was the last thing I technically saw at cinema, because I just don't go to the cinema anymore because
No.
it just finishes too late. And I'm like, no, that precious extra hour of sleep is more important.
Fair
than-
enough.
Oh, definitely. I only do afternoon cinema trips now. It's like now I only do matinees at the theatre. Can't be doing with a late night.
No.
We went me and my wife went to like a social event, I think they're called. And we got home at like 10:30, 11, in bed by 11:30. I mean, both of us the next day. And all it was getting to bed at 12.
And it's like you've been heavily drinking.
Yeah,
it's
we didn't
like,
no alcohol. But we were up at 5 with the kids. I mean, we were both just all day and really grouchy and just like, I'm never going out ever again. So yeah, I feel you.
Shall we do Desert Island Binge? So this is where we ask our guests, Holly, to pick a television series, a podcast and a book that they would take to a desert island. It's not very original, but we find it works, so we do it. So shall we start? Because we haven't heard about your podcast recommendations. Are you a podcast listener?
I do, yeah. I don't know how to walk alone a road with my own thoughts anymore. Like, I have to have a podcast in my ears. I
It's
just
nice
can't be with my
company,
brain.
isn't it? It's
Yeah.
lovely. So which ones are you liking and which ones would you take, or which one would you take to a desert island?
My not Desert Island one, but the one I listen to every week, because I love The Rest is Entertainment with Marina Hyde and Richard Osman.
Yes.
I did
Yeah.
media studies A-level. Like, I just love all the behind the scenes stuff about publishing and films. And yeah, so I love that every week. My Desert Island one is, do you know the You're Wrong About podcast?
No.
It's like these 2 people, it's been going for years now, but it's these 2 people who basically take a topic like Yoko Ono or Princess Diana and then do a deep dive and basically tell you like everything that you're wrong about.
What, everything you think you know about them?
Yeah, so like Yoko Ono, and it was like, did she split up the Beatles? And they go back and look at kind of sort of Japanese racism after World War II, and they contextualise all this stuff that's going on. And
That sounds amazing.
it is. You found all this weird stuff, like how cold it is in all the posh houses. You'd think that if you had all the money, it would be like cosy.
Well, like
up
Buckingham
there.
Palace.
Yeah.
Absolutely freezing.
Yeah, apparently it's freezing cold.
So cold.
But yeah, so I would listen to that because one of the co-hosts is a specialist in the O.J. Simpson case, but she does a deep dive. I think it's like 32 episodes. It's insane how many episodes she's dedicated to the O.J. Simpson case, and I've never got through it. So if I was on a desert island, I would sit back and
How many
go through
episodes on the O.J. Simpson case?
that. It's insane. There's like 2 just dedicated
hang
to
on
the
a sec.
Bronco chase.
38
I like that.
episodes.
I don't know that for sure. It feels
what it
like
says
Yes,
here.
it says 38 episodes. Wow.
Do you know what? Have you watched the OJ documentary?
Yes.
And
yeah.
then also they dramatise it, don't they? With David Schwimmer.
Yes, yeah, I watched it.
That's brilliant, isn't
so
it?
I just want, if I had the time to really invest in that particular part of that podcast series, I think I would go for You're Wrong About.
That sounds like a good one.
Good shout.
Television show.
I seem so basic, but Sex and the City, I could never get bored of watching that show.
Yes, Holly Bourne, I'm with you.
My whole university experience was that hot pink DVD box set with the black
Yep.
lids, and it was like, what should we do? Let's just watch Sex and the City again. And like she would leave for Russian, get together with Big, happy ending, and the next day we're like, right, back to season 1, and just could not get bored of it.
No, I'm with you. That's what I would choose as well.
Yeah, look, everyone's got their shows like that. My version is, I've got a few. Alan Partridge, Peep Show.
Peep Show's
Friends.
good too. Friends is like a top one as well.
I could just rewatch all those 3 shows over and over.
Oh, go on then. Because you are an author, we have to do book.
So my favourite series of books is actually books written for teenagers that came out when I was a teenager, called Angus Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging by Louise Renison. I think
Yes.
it got turned into
It was a film.
I remember the film, yeah.
And it's probably the funniest books I've ever read, still to this day. And I think they're the reason I became a writer.
Really?
And they just sort of show as well like how funny girls are when boys aren't watching. It's sort of what the books are about, because girls are like quite mad. Like, you think we're in like, I don't know, kissing each other and having pillow fights at sleepovers, but we're doing like insane magic spells, high-end dance routines, like crazy voices. It's like the first books where I was like, wow, this is what me and my friends are really like, that we just hide because then we want the boys at school to fancy us. And I just love them. They're my happy place. And I just read them over and over again.
Holly, thank you so much for being a guest. You've been wonderful. And thank you for the book recommendation.
Yes.
I loved yours.
And thank you for the recommendation on Famous Last Words.
Yeah,
I'll get into that on holiday.
No, it's really good.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much to Holly. What a brilliant guest she was. And her book sounds amazing. I'm tempted to steal one of these signed copies, but as promised in the beginning of the episode, we're going to be giving them away. You just have to email us at hello@bingepodcastofficial.com with the number of books that Holly had to sign during one sitting.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us again.
That is it, isn't it?
It is.
Don't forget, though, we always like to know what you're watching, what you're listening to, what you're reading. hello@bingepodcastofficial.com is the email.
Yep, you can WhatsApp us too. The number's in the description. Leave us a voice note if you like. Binge is a Viral Tribe entertainment production. Please do rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Join us next time as we help you sort the binge-worthy
From the Binworthy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.